Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Alice.
And with our powers combined, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. That's right, you heard it right here, people. Alice is a different name to Adam, and they are not the same person.
Allegedly.
There we go. I think we're covered legally.
Yep.
Yeah,
perfect.
we did that. We won't get sued by Big Adam.
Nice.
And he's enormous. He'll crush us all.
Big Adam is enormous. We have the lovely Alice Tovey joining us. Welcome, Alice, to the show.
Thank you for having me in my own home next to your fellow co-host.
Yeah.
It is kind of outrageous considering Alice is such a funny person and works in the comedy and writing industry. It's actually borderline of war crime that we haven't had you on the podcast up until this point.
She did say to me when George, you said, that article that we'll talk about later on that Alice had published was really good. Let's have her on the show and talk about it. And I said that I pitched that to Alice, and she said, it only took me getting published in a major metropolitan newspaper for you to fucking include me on your podcast. How long have we been together? 8 years. I'm like, I could swear we've had you on the show before. Like, didn't you talk to George about depression? And you're like, yeah, but that was something that George just did. That wasn't the show. And I was like, fuck, I'm terrible.
George and I just talk about depression a lot as well.
To be fair, if I'm talking, there's a not insubstantial chance that it might be about depression. So that's really sort of pin the tail on the sad donkey there, on the Eeyore.
Yeah, depression is kind of like Sex in the City. It's the fifth character.
Yeah. That was a very Samantha thing for you to
say.
Wait,
no, it's not Sex that's the character, it's the city.
New York,
city.
yeah.
New York's
sorry. The fifth girl.
Yeah, Sex is the sixth character.
Yeah, Sex is the
but she always comes first. Actually, there's this new feature on Discord. I want to see if you guys can hear this.
Wait, is there actually?
This is a little soundboard.
Actually, can I do that?
I please don't.
No. Oh my god, we can.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay.
This is amazing.
This has changed our lives.
Yeah. I immediately regret my decision.
Welcome to Dingo and the Baby.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that joke didn't land.
We've all had fun. I'm immediately sorry to the listeners for having brought that up. So yes, you're here on the show. It's lovely to have you. I can already tell we're not getting through all of these stories.
No, let's do it. Let's power through.
It's not happening. It's not going to happen. We are a news and comedy podcast. Adam is otherwise indisposed. We have the lovely Alice on, and only when she is published in major metropolitan newspapers, and only then will she be allowed to appear on this podcast.
Yeah, that's fair.
Top story. Get your shit together, Alice. So, top story. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has teamed up with a noted, just checking my notes here, shit stain, Matt Gaetz, to propose a law that would ban members of Congress from trading stonks. So what this means is essentially, well, it's a good bill. It seems like there have been previous versions of this, right? So if you're not aware, members of Congress over in the United States are allowed to trade stocks with the insider knowledge that they have from working in Congress, which is the most insider trading that one could possibly, like, if one was to like draw a diagram of corruption, like a flow chart, and try to explain it to 5-year-olds, you'd have Nancy Pelosi with a big bag of money, canvas bag with a dollar sign, going into Congress, hearing about some shit about the economy, walking out trading stocks. Well, that's allowed apparently, and
also just being able to change the rules, like. That's like the governing body of a sport usually aren't also allowed to be a team that
plays
compete,
the sport.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, they can just change the rules whenever they want.
It's like if you're playing Monopoly with your friends, except you get to set all the rules, and all the rules are I win. We're playing I win.
Now, Matt Gaetz, there's so many characters in the Republican Party. It's a really stacked cast.
Characters is a good way of describing Matt Gaetz. Yeah, he is a character.
That's because he's the private school looking guy with the punchable head, right? Oh, yeah, there he is.
That guy. I just pulled up a picture for Alice's reference. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
the shape of the jack-o'-lantern.
Great. I mean, in all fairness, Republican idiot with a punchable head is not a very specific descriptor.
That's true.
Yeah, that's kind of a real strike placard at the moment, and you just kind of fill in the blank on top.
You may remember Matt Gaetz last year was under investigation for being now how shall I phrase this in such a way as to not be sued for defamation? Was arrested for his appreciation of underage girls.
I see. He's a fiddler and not on the roof. Yeah, bad guy.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly that was very insensitive. But that is unusual that AOC would partner with him.
Well,
but I suppose
even a broken clock is right 6 times a day.
Well, yeah, if it's getting something like this passed, which you'd think would just be something already, like even back in the times of powdery wig founding fathers, if you were you can't buy grain from thy innkeeper's grain yard. I'm not good at metaphors when it comes to finance. My brain is already kind of in a different field right now.
Why is the innkeeper stowing the grain? That seems like a non-innkeeper based financial situation.
Oh no, innkeepers can have side hustles. I'm right in the middle of playing
a little silo hustle.
I'm right in the middle of playing Red Dead 2 at the moment, and every damn shopkeeper also has a boy in a sailor suit chained in their basement or a secret moonshine still. Those are both things that happen in Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
Sailors that makes sense that there were sailors during the time of the cowboys.
Sailors have been around
those are
for
different movies
a really long time. Yeah, the village people did not invent the Navy.
You know Ulysses? They were sailors.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Sailors have been around for a long time.
Oh, that's sick.
Homer had an Odyssey that I probably involved a couple.
Yeah, it's a bit of a saga. We don't need to.
Yeah,
need to go over there. Unlike the sagas, which are actually about this a story from Viking times, we've gotten hopelessly sidetracked.
Way off track.
The thing I like about this though is obviously, of course, it seems like such a no-derf-red moment that the people who make the rules shouldn't also be able to take privileged information and trade stocks on it, and neither should their immediate family, because that is the definition of insider trading. But something which I think is hilarious is that previous attempts have been made to institute laws like this. So back in January of just this year, Senator and noted duffel bag of shit Josh Hawley reintroduced his bill, which was dubbed the Pelosi Act, which did something similar.
Now, how does this just because I'm not across. I know that Nancy Pelosi will just don a different culture's costume and kneel for fun, but what does stocks have to do with Pelosi in this one case?
So
Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi has quite a property portfolio or something, right? Has investment properties and all these sorts of things. And
so for someone who's worked their entire career in public service, how much do you think her net worth would be, Alice?
Oh, I'm guessing from her bob, that is a rich woman. But it should not be because politics. But she'd be a multi-millionaire.
Yeah. So as of 2018, the estimate of her net worth was $114.6 million.
Yeah.
So roughly 100. Let's round it up to 120 million present day. So it's
quite a wealthy person. I guess
she's not doing it tough.
Yeah, having investments or whatever that, I guess gives her that wealth. She was then presiding over Congress and could allow things to be brought to the floor that could greatly benefit that.
So
I guess
there's a funny, on Twitter, there's a bot that tracks Congress members' stock purchases. And people have done financial analyses on these bots, and they always trade above the market and things like that because obviously they've got access to privileged information that everyone else doesn't have access to. So it's I don't know. I just thought that was funny.
That's a very you rarely have to hand anything to Josh Hawley, but that's a good burn.
Can you show me a photo of his face?
Josh Hawley. Well, he's got a similar kind of look in
again,
the really punchable douchebag.
Punchable douchebag Republican.
Let's see where he sits
White
on the
male.
punchabilities. Oh, hang on. Oh, wow.
Yeah. He famously walked into Capitol Hill seeing
With his
like
fist raised.
Yeah, he did like
No,
the fist up to like
Yes.
the people who would then go and storm the Capitol. And then there was footage of him running terrified during the Capitol attack.
Oh,
Like, and people were like, "Oh, little piss baby." I was like, "Well,
that's
I'd be
real.
scared."
That's school vice captain energy. Like, that's a man permanently scorned.
He was absolutely head fucking boy.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
If
He was the 2IC, George. He wishes he was the head boy.
Yeah, I'm getting captain of the lacrosse team.
If he hazes enough year 9s, then one day he might be head boy, but not yet.
One day he's still doing
it.
So amazingly, AOC and these two shitbirds are on the same page about something. You rarely see that happen.
You do whatever you need to do to get things done, right? Like if this is what it takes to like rip out corruption and take it out of the Congress people trying to enrich themselves off the back of everyone else. If this is what it takes is AOC teaming up with Matt Gaetz, then get it.
I feel it has huge like the BoJack Horseman thing of get the gun control to be all about controlling women and their use of guns to pass it through. This feels like we'll tell them a Democrat does this, and they're like, a Democrat does this. Oh, we got to stop them.
Democratic corruption, the worst kind of corruption. I guess we better stop it altogether.
Yeah. Wait, the Democrats.
God damn it, AOC, not again. So happy about that. It's funny because there was remember recently in Australia there was Greens, I think it was a Green senator who got elected recently, and it was post his being elected, but prior to them I guess actually sort of being seated and starting to get paid and all that sort of stuff. He was talking about how he couldn't find housing. And there are young members of Congress that are like that as well. People Democrats that have, they come from the food service industry, or they come from, like a union background. They're not necessarily rich people, but now they've got to go get an apartment in Washington, and they like literally can't afford to do that because they're not getting paid as a congressperson yet. So, there's a real, shows the inequality that's happening. You've got the median age for these people is in the 60s. But you notice the commonality that they have, Josh Hawley, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Matt Gaetz, all of these people that are involved in this bill are millennials, right?
Yeah.
They're sub 50, right? So it's the one thing that we can all agree on as people that aren't octogenarians in parliament is that, like corruption's bad, hey? Like they literally don't agree on anything else. I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wouldn't be caught dead standing next to Matt Gaetz for literally anything else. But I know. I thought that was interesting. So we'll see if it gets passed.
Do we have similar rules like this in Australia? Because I know politicians do have to declare all of their assets and that. But is there you can't invest in like I know John Howard can't invest in Kim Beazley's corporations?
I'm not sure aware of anything.
Yeah, of that specifically. I mean, obviously, insider trading is illegal, but it's also something that's really hard to prosecute.
Yes.
I thought as well. Like it's actually really hard to sort of concrete prove it.
Yeah, no one's been done for insider trading in Australia officially.
It must be because there's no corruption.
There's
absolutely no corruption.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's like, wait, if we is it just that whoever the judge presiding over or whatever, it's like, wait, if we say that this is illegal, then that thing I'm doing's illegal, so I can't say that because then there's precedent. So, oh no, can't prove it.
There is an article from The Guardian from about 6 years ago, which talks about says vast majority of MPs properly declared directorships and shares. So if you're the director of a company or if you own shares, you do need to declare that. Anything that could potentially be a conflict of interest. So financial holdings and all that sort of stuff.
So it's kind of you can do it, but you got to fess up.
Yeah, the politicians have to declare that sort of stuff, but then it's up to, I guess, like journalists and all that to notice if they're doing something that's not above board, and then the public scrutiny would be the only thing, I guess, that would force their hands to punish anyone about it. That's not a funny thought. That's just a thought.
Don't worry, Alice, that we've still found ways to be corrupt for politicians here in Australia.
Thank goodness.
So, Staying in the United States, there was this funny little thing called the Met Gala this week, and I read a great article about it in the Sydney Morning Herald. And I realized it was written by our friend and collaborator, Alice Tovey. And so I thought I should invite her on the show. Welcome, Alice.
I'm a journalist now.
Yeah. I'm
not a journalist. I say silly things and people pay me for it, which is lovely.
To the extent that anyone that writes for the Sydney Morning Herald is a journalist.
I have no comment.
You are also I could possibly comment. So Alice, tell us what the Met Gala is and why it should be cancelled. I was reading the comments to this article. Are you cancel culture, Alice?
I am cancel. Hear me roar.
Because I'm seeing a stout woman from the queer community telling me I can't have things that I want to have.
Stout?
And stout is short. Stout is short, isn't it?
Are you stout short?
I love them, but you're still.
I thought stout was
holding it short.
Okay, no, you're right. You're right. Stout is fat. I'm so sorry.
That's no, it's fine.
You're not fat and you're not stout.
It's all good. Like I can be many things. Look, I'm not cancel culture.
You single-handedly are the cancel culture that's that's riven apart this great nation of ours. And I'm gonna get Southern Cross tattoo.
I do read the comments that people post on articles, mainly because I find them quite funny. I like to see how far away the comment gets from the subject matter of the article.
Ooh.
Like someone sent me a tweet being like, but Rupert Murdoch funded Moulin Rouge. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, what did that have to do with the Met Gala at all?
Of course, I liked the tweet. It was very fun.
Oh, yeah, it's content.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's at least a couple of stories on Instagram right there. Easy.
Yeah.
You're done for the day. Lunch.
The Met Gala is it's for the costume wing or the costume kind of exhibits to fund them at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. So Anna Wintour, who's the editor-in-chief of Vogue, she's the woman who The Devil in The Devil Wears Prada is based off. She's Meryl Streep.
She's Meryl Streep.
She handpicks everyone that she wants to come, and you have to pay, though, to be seated there. So if you want to go as an individual, it's about, I think, 40K Australian a ticket. I need to verify those numbers. But to book a table, if you're a fashion house like Gucci or Chanel, you're looking at 75K Australian to sit down and have a meal next to Jimmy Fallon.
Wow. So hang on. Anna Wintour, hand decides who she wants $40,000 from?
Yes.
Wow.
For the opportunity.
It's a real power move.
For the opportunity to pay $40,000.
Yeah. It's not just I want your company. It's like you are someone I have selected to give me $40,000.
And look, and while the fundraising, as I say in my article, I love museums and I think that fundraising for museums is a net good. But to tie it up in kind of this circus of ego, which and again, this is separate from kind of the spectacle of the art and the fashion that's being made, because I love fashion and I love art, and I think that the Met Gala has produced some amazing artworks. But to pretend it's anything other than an exercise in ego, that you pay that ticket, but you're also going to pay like an extra couple of $1 million on transport, design, like. You could write a check for the museum if you care so much about the art.
Yeah, let's raise some money for the institution that illegally stole my ancestors' artworks. Write a check. It's okay. So they're raising money and they put on this big gala, big fancy dinner, and there's a theme every year. And I understand this year the theme was Karl Lagerfeld, who is he still alive?
He passed away 3 years ago.
Yeah. So he passed away. He was a renowned fashion designer who had some spicy opinions about women with a BMI of above 5. So,
he just had such a disgust and a disdain for not only women's bodies, but just for, it seemed, his own body. He wrote, if you don't know, a diet book called the Karl Lagerfeld Diet, which essentially the bottom line of that was don't eat very much.
Don't eat. Have you tried eating dust?
Yeah.
But I think it goes beyond like saying some off-color remarks about women's bodies, which isn't chill, but like, it goes to, he directly contributed to the culture which normalized disordered eating. And if it wasn't for a Karl Lagerfeld in the fashion world, then who knows, we might be at a point now that I think that we're now just starting to see a body positivity movement in mainstream fashion. But think about how much further along we'd be if we could expedite those conversations early on without a Karl Lagerfeld.
Was he someone who, like, sorry, as you know, my fiance, you know, I'm particularly ignorant in a lot of this sort of stuff.
That's okay, honey.
But would Karl, like, the term like heroin chic is a term that I know, and of it being a big movement of, you know, women everywhere should be rake thin and like sickly looking. Is that something that Karl Lagerfeld would have a direct hand in? Am I getting the errors right? Sort of his area of influence?
He was making art in the 90s. So I think like his heyday of when he was like the creative director of Chanel was the 80s. But if you very much, whether he used the term heroin chic or not, if you look at like the artists that he worked with and all of the women, they were incredibly thin, incredibly tall, usually white women.
Right. Okay.
So enforced a real sort of idea of beauty that is starting to seem a little bit outdated by the sounds of it.
Truly, he said that no one wants to see a curvy woman on the runway, and I'd
Wrong.
argue
Wrong.
like, give me, just women wearing lovely clothes on runways. Like, that's awesome. Like, what a lovely way to spend a day. I don't care. Yeah. Fat, skinny, what have you. It's all good stuff.
Yeah. And sorry, George, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, and in the article that you wrote, a part that I found rather interesting, because as someone who, particularly throughout my youth, when I was a much less good person, I would always see like these fashion events and stuff like that as kind of pointless, stupid, like, who cares, like, oh, people aren't even going to wear these clothes or these designers, why are they so iconic? Like, that's not what clothes look like when you're talking about the everyday of what people wear, etc., etc. But you make a point in the article, Alice, that I think is really good, in that these sorts of moments in fashion are actually historical in ways that you might not have consciously realized. And you refer to the Marilyn Monroe dress, that everyone knows that look, and how that all the influences on that, either by the designer or Marilyn herself, or the moment that it happened, all those sorts of things get imprinted not only on people who care about fashion, but also just the world at large. And if the people controlling those decisions all believe that women should be rake thin, then ripples. That actually has a tangible effect.
It does. It ripples through the culture. Forgive me if I start sounding too much like Jordan B. Peterson, but from a Jungian perspective, let's talk about it. No, I'm serious. So, like the whole
was
idea...
that a good Jordan Peterson? I don't think I've heard him talk.
Oh yeah,
Kermit the Frog, doesn't he?
I'm serious. No, I'm serious. So, like, the whole thing about the collective unconsciousness, Carl Jung, right? The idea that there are certain like sort of touchstones that we as a society, you know, like you said, the Marilyn Monroe holding the dress, it becomes like a cultural moment, like, you know, Mickey Mouse from Disney, you know, riding the trail, Fantasia, or there are certain things that become like so big that they become even bigger than the gestalt, the entire sum of all of the things that they are, and they become a cultural moment, something that, you know, Coke and Pepsi are like imprinted into our collective unconsciousness now, right? They're so ubiquitous, they're so singular that there's something about that has sunk into everyone's or almost everyone's minds. So I don't think it's too much to say that, yeah, the fashion, the magazines, the women's weeklies, I remember that, you know, we'd be looking at in the checkout aisle on the way home, and all you'd see is either women who you thought you were hot and now were expected to hate because they had cellulite and so were unworthy, or rail thin and they were too thin and look how unhealthy they are, because it's just like this constant messaging that we're all getting from all corners that the way women are in their bodies isn't acceptable in the current form that it is, whatever that form is, but always tending towards rail thin and skinny. I don't see how that couldn't have a a negative effect on the psychology, on the culture, which is not
Sure,
to put
and
it all at the feet of Karl Lagerfeld. Like, he's not the only person who, you know, in modeling who likes skinny women, certainly, but like, he was a big part of it. So,
he was a huge part of it. Chanel, he turned it into one of the biggest brands in the world, you could argue. But I think the unrest that causes it's not just damaging to people who may not be the ideal weight. It's also damaging to women who may be the ideal weight or may be thinner or what have you, because then you become obsessed with maintaining this standard and you feel like this constant unease in your body as to like, am I perfect enough? Am I thin enough? Am I too thin? Are people going to think I'm unhealthy? I think it's all just the constant scrutiny that women's bodies and the monitoring, you're right, of women's bodies and bodies in general, it just creates a sense of unrest and takes so much energy away from other portions of your life, which it just really, really sucks. But having said all that about that, I love Met Gala's past and the looks that they've bought, but I think that it's just real garbage to celebrate this one dude through fashion.
I did have to confess, when I saw the pictures from the Met Gala, I thought they were more AI generated images. You know how there was how there was that photo of like the Pope in his Balenciaga white jacket, and I saw like Pedro Pascal wearing like culottes. And I was like, oh, these are more of these AI generated images. They're like, no, that's the Met Gala, darling. Oh, okay. Cool.
You were telling me something cool about Pedro Pascal at the Met Gala.
Oh, yes. His look.
About daddy.
Yeah, because I guess, and it's where a lot of I know that a lot of your article, Alice, I feel like I'm just explaining your article to the audience, which is horrific.
No.
I'm a man and you wrote it.
That's enough, Alice. Let Tom explain your article, mate.
Yeah. I can do it better. No, but that there was a lot of criticism being leveled at, you know, the Met Gala for choosing Karl Lagerfeld as this year's theme, and to the people attending, as to be like, you know, because people are expected to dress on the theme, right? So it's celebrating his work and you know, art and the artist and all that sort of stuff was being kicked around.
Next year we're doing Woody Allen. Anyway,
so, you know, but then I did see still online that when people like Pedro Pascal in attendance in his getup looked amazing, because it was like this
his
big
teeny tiny shorts.
Yeah, he was in this big like red kind of cloak, but then he parted the cloak and he's in these like black shorts, and everyone
honestly
like,
dressed like me going down the shops on a temperate day. I had that coat, I'm pretty sure.
Have you seen those videos where it's like AI versions of The Office, but it's like The Office, but all the characters are Balenciaga?
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. I was just like,
I don't get those
Pedro
memes,
Pascal, but Balenciaga.
Yeah. But it wasn't Balenciaga. Tom said that his look was done in protest, referencing the fashion house. It was an outfit by the fashion house Valentino, who was Lagerfeld's main rival. And apparently, Tom, you said he had little V's painted.
Not only was it an outfit that was by a rival, but then he'd had a manicure so that the nail on his middle fingers had the logo of that brand.
Valentino.
So while he was still there in an amazing outfit, it also in itself was a bit of a protest of the guy that's being honored by this event. And others did similar sorts of things as well.
Look, I have no interest in canceling individual celebrities that went to the Met Gala.
No, let's go. Let's go. T-Swift, you're up next, mate.
Oh, I'm going to get you. Oh, Jared Leto, you think wearing a big cat costume is going to distract from your weird cult? But
we've not forgotten Jared Leto. We've not forgotten all the weird shit you did on that Joker movie. We didn't forget, mate.
Oh, well, no, Alice, remember, like he's been preparing for 15 years to be that cat. Like he's been hyping up for it. Seriously, Google Jared Leto 15 years, see what comes up. No, my next question was just going to be, as I think a fun way to to round this out, was what was your favorite look?
My favorite look
of the gala?
Oh, I mean, there were so many amazing looks. I think I referenced a few in the article, and I hate how much I loved Jared Leto's giant replica of Lagerfeld's cat.
It was amazing.
It was so strange. I did agree with I think Aubrey Plaza said that he should have just kept the head on for longer though. And I'm like, yeah, keep it on all night. Attend as a big cat and don't tell anyone who you are and leave.
Yeah, it was kind of like we just didn't want to know that it was you because the cat was so good.
Yeah, you ruin it.
Pretty amazing.
Because hats off to all like the people and the designers who make these amazing creations. It's so great. But again, I think it also speaks to a broader problem in fashion is that you always like see like, oh, Gucci made this, Valentino made this. And even like you'd be like, oh, Karl Lagerfeld made this. It's like, well, no, it's so many people working under one person. And it's especially in Lagerfeld's case, it was usually women who worked tireless hours to make these incredible creations. And we got to sing their praises. So if you're a fashion nerd out there, find out who's making the stuff as well as just designing the stuff because they deserve just as much praise.
100%.
Also, he said a bunch of fucked up things about the Me Too movement, but we don't have time for that.
Oh, yeah. It's all bad.
It's like bad. It's real bad. As bad as you think it is, it's worse.
I remember when I was commissioned to write this article, I knew about his fatphobic comments, but like the well is deep.
Yeah. You don't have to search too hard to get some fucked up Karl Lagerfeld comments for an article that you're writing about this. It's
got a cute cat though, and the cat's alive.
Yeah, the cat still lives, so that's good.
In the style of an 18th century king, I'm led to believe.
Oh my god, Choupette Lagerfeld lives a life I could only dream of.
Wait, its name is Choupette?
Choupette.
That is fantastic.
Choupette the pet.
Oh, that's silly.
So speaking of living in luxury, Treasurer Jim Chalmers has come out this week and says that the nation's most vulnerable will be supported in the federal budget coming out on Tuesday.
How? Tell me how. What?
In the style of 18th century royalty, much like Karl Lagerfeld's cat.
Budget night. Everyone loves budget night. It's like accountant's Super Bowl.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
All right, how's he helping the vulnerable now? Are we getting another stadium in Tasmania?
So no. So basically, what they've done, so allegedly, obviously, this will all come out probably in budget night, but they've done the thing where they come out and they announce a couple of like pre-morsels to get everyone like keyed up for the budget. And one of the they're sort of suggesting that they're going to do something to cap energy prices. They came under fire last week about raising the rate. People saying you should raise the rate, and they said no. And then this week they're saying yes, but only for people over 55, because I guess if you're 54, single mother of 3, get fucked. But if you're 55, obviously, then you deserve a bit of extra help. But the reported increase would only be about $20 a week. So I mean,
do love that Anthony Albanese is always like, I was raised by a single mother, and I will ensure that there will be no more single mothers, for they were all starved to death under my regime.
Slow.
Yeah, I got out of that being raised by a single mother and vowed never again shall a child be raised by a single mother. I am abolishing divorce laws.
Now, George, I know that you watch George. I know you watch Insiders because you love to
because I'm a masochist.
Yeah. So I think I saw some maths today. The the job seeker raising payment across the board would only be an extra like $2.85 a day. Is that correct?
I don't remember the exact numbers, but
round about
not substantial.
$40 a fortnight, and I think
that's so $20
like
bucks a week.
$2 something. So like cool.
For
all those job
for that
seekers.
Math, you could literally throw people a fucking bone, because at least if they boiled it, they might get more sustenance out of it. That extra $2 a day.
Yeah, I think it's weird that I thought about it this way, but I was just like, oh, cool. Yeah, they'll definitely, like, all those job seekers will definitely find jobs now. They can have 2 7-Eleven coffees.
You can't even buy a liter of milk for $2.85. That is insulting.
Yeah, it's bananas. Like, it's just such a, like, I know everyone says this, oh, they're out of touch, but yeah. Like, you're so out of touch. Like, I know, remember those things like people always did way back of like, oh, can you live on $2 a day? And the whole purpose of that idea was that you were living on the level of nutrition and I guess just access to basic needs that people in third world countries had to kind of humble yourself and, be raise donations and stuff, but to like humble yourself into what was sort of universally agreed by people in Western society is to be the most destitute people in the world.
It's one thing,
and to be like, oh, cool, so you can have the most destitute person in the world's worth of extra to your dole, you scum.
It's one thing to be out of touch with society and like not understand what normal like people in Nuttawading are doing because you live on the foreshore of Kirribilli, but like it's another thing to be out of touch with humanity and like not understand that if you are cold and can't eat, how hard that is. And that is a reality for so many people.
This might sound a little bit controversial. I actually don't think it's that they're out of touch. I think it's that they don't care. There's other priorities, and the priorities are getting some missiles, getting a stadium in Hobart, getting a submarine, getting some new jets. Like those are the priorities. Like, and when it comes to the most vulnerable amongst us surviving, that's just not as high of a priority. Like they know, they've seen the research. There's working groups, there's representations to Parliament. But, I'm sure there are I know for a fact that there are organizations out there that are asking for money from the government to assist with, developing programs to help these people. They know, they're not unaware that all of this is happening. It's just not the first priority on the list.
Yeah.
It'll surprise no one to know that Tom and I and yourself, George, we're all big old lefties. Tom and I particularly like wheel out your guillotines.
Alice, I like to maintain a bit of strategic ambiguity as to my political leanings. When I say that we need to get out the guillotines, I'm merely satirically suggesting what a partisan hack might say. I'm certainly not espousing that particular view myself. As a member of the media, I remain impartial and balanced at all times.
We just need to guillotine one of them.
Oh, then they'll all fall in
then
line.
the message gets around.
But the point I was raising with that is it has been so disappointing to see.
For legal reasons, this is a joke.
Sure, but it's not. But it's been so disappointing.
That's a joke. What a hilarious joke, Alice. I'm laughing at that.
Yeah, the truth. It's been really disappointing to see, like, with this change of government, just how the same things have stayed.
Yeah.
And I know that they've been dealt a shitty hand after COVID and there's a recession.
I do get that. And, obviously.
But have you tried fucking doing something?
How about have you tried doing anything? There was a great article from David Milner this week. Which was titled, "What is the point of Anthony Albanese?" Which basically makes this point. It's like, if you are only going to be incrementally less bad than the other mob, what is the point of you? Like, people voted for a government that was progressive. Like, we took you at your word when you were talking about the job seeker rate being woefully insufficient, and you said you wanted to improve it and bring it up and increase it and do things about institutional, systemic poverty. People believed you when you said that, and then they voted for you. And so now that you're in there, you need to do something about these things, because that's why you're there, or that's one of the reasons why you're there. So it just seems, I don't know, like, we're still going to go through with stage 3 tax cuts. We're still going to go through with, and they say, oh, well, we're going to raise an extra, 2-point-something billion in taxes by, from the fossil fuel industry. And I'm like, okay, great. But you're going to turn around and give everyone stage 3 tax cuts, which is going to give them way more than 2 points. Like that whole program of stage 3 tax cuts is expected to cost like $200 billion plus. So it's like, the money that they're taking from fossil fuel companies, it's an extra 2 point whatever billion. It's like, all that is, it's not actually more. It's just bringing it forward. Right? So
how
it's not
good is capitalism?
It's not even that they're charging them more in tax. It's that they're just bringing it. They get paid. The government gets paid sooner than it otherwise would, and they're putting that as black on the balance sheet because it comes in sooner than it otherwise would have done. And it's like, how can you talk about all of these things with a straight face, saying you're going to help? Yeah, it's like helping a couple million people with their power bills by putting some sort of cap on it. I think that's good. That makes sense. But that you could do that 100 times for the amount of money that we're pouring into stage 3 tax cuts. You know what I mean? It's just like what we're doing when we have poverty is that it's a policy choice. We are choosing to put our money here in jets as opposed to over here in terms of, housing the homeless or building more affordable housing, or like it's just a matter of what we choose, what we're prioritizing. And given the mandate that you have from the people based on what you were elected on, it's frustrating to see that there's not more happening in this area. Sorry, Tom, you were trying to say something.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think what would inspire me, like the next time this comes around to like, taking people at their word and voting for them and all that in an election, is if someone's political attitude was to not care about whether or not they're re-elected.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I want to get in and I want to make things better, but whether or not I get another term is not important to me, because then they will just fucking do stuff. Because like, that so much of this is that, oh fuck, if we did actually like cut these tax, get rid of the stage 3 tax cuts, and we did raise new job seeker, etc., as much as we should, we're gonna get fucking crucified, and we won't get liberal.
I won't get my job at the lobbyist afterwards
we won't get the votes from the people who are on the fence about us, because they'll believe everything Peter Dutton says and News Corp prints out and all that about how this is awful for them, and then fuck, we won't get re-elected next time. So I guess we'll just do it a little bit.
But don't worry, Tomboy. We luckily in our house have created an elegant solution for career politicians. We have a shiny new neck massager. You just put your head through the hole.
No, wait a minute. I see where this is going.
We did it again.
Yeah, just one fell swoop and your neck pain is gone. Just gone forever.
I don't like how this has become a bit that we're calling back to now.
Yeah.
There's two of us now, John.
Yes. See, but you can't vote for the Greens in this country because they like marijuana.
Marijuana.
Silly Greens. They're so silly. They're so silly
I genuinely
Greens.
think that like that the Liberal Party will one day become a weird fringe party that just goes like, bah! And then like the Labour Party will just be a centrist party, and then there'll be the Greens as opposition.
Yeah,
and do I always agree with the Greens? No, but they're putting out ideas and having a crack.
Yeah.
And they smashed the Housing Future Fund that we were complaining about last week. So
what a silly idea. Just call it a construction industry bailout. I'm getting off track, but yes.
Yeah, well, it really is.
What if we take $10 billion of taxpayer funds, we borrow it, so we're paying interest on this money, and then we put it in the stock market, and then maybe someone down the line will build houses with the profits. Couldn't you just take that money and build houses now? No, but then we wouldn't have a future fund. We're thinking about the future, you idiots.
Yeah.
It's going to be George Jetson and shit, you idiot. It's about the future, you moron. I don't like future funds. Anyway.
No, they're not great historically.
Or the Australia Institute or various other think tanks or places where politicians go to work afterwards.
Anyway, I'm very much looking forward to who are come Tuesday night, come NBA people's Christmas of when the budget gets.
You said NBA. I thought you said NBA, and I'm like, is it a basketball thing?
It's the playoffs. It's the nerd playoffs.
Yeah, the nerd playoffs where Jim Chalmers attempts if I have my terminology right,
a hole-in-one.
Straight sets.
I don't. You're asking the wrong guy. I think that's tennis.
Yeah, that is tennis.
Yeah.
That was
I watched the
hole-in-one is better. Yeah, it's a better joke. That's why you're the professional.
You're an aspiring. You're semi-pro.
Me or Alice?
Comedian. No. Alice is a pro.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, who are you describing as semi-pro? Semi-pro?
That's because we're extending the sports metaphor. Okay, so speaking of government ministers who will be looking for jobs at think tanks or various other institutions of note, Stuart Robert. I never trusted guys with two first names. So,
should I just leave?
You and Elton John can get the hell out of here, buddy.
You and your best friend Elton John.
People always tell me I have two first names, and because my last name is my last name, I never, whenever I hear Heath as a first name, it sounds weird. So it always bugs me when people tell me I have two first names, because I'm like, nope, they have two last names.
You brought it up. I didn't bring it up.
Anyway, yeah. Well, you brought up two first names anyway.
So Liberal MP Stuart Robert, who claimed, quote, absolute responsibility for Robodebt's implementation has decided he's going
to jail.
No, has decided
What?
he's going to retire from politics to spend time with his family should ever they be located. So they've gone into witness protection to avoid him.
He took absolute responsibility for Robodebt. What does Scott Morrison have on all of these people?
Have on all these people? I don't know.
It's just got that like Charlie Day conspiracy gif where it's just like
the string.
Yeah, the red threads on the wall.
Yeah.
Just be like,
honestly, must just have some explicit nudes, just like not even tasteful nudes, just like raw and dirty nudes.
Oh, whole on main. That's what we've got
Jesus Christ. So
there's two of us now.
There's two of us now, George.
My wife asked me the other day. She doesn't listen to the show anymore.
Hi, Grace.
What your hole was doing on main?
No, don't say that. That's not even funny as a joke. I was talking. I said that a friend of mine listens to the show, and I didn't realize, and I found out. And she goes, "Oh, you still making dick jokes on that thing, or what's?" I was, yes, I very much am. I very much am still making. As I'm a 32-year-old man, and I'm still making dick jokes. Yeah, that's 100%. That's for sure what's happening here. So, Stuart Robert.
Yeah, Stuart Robert.
Speaking of dick jokes,
the one who took absolute responsibility for Robodebt. Looks like he has a really sore neck, if you ask me.
No,
we kind of a thing for that.
Tom, no. So he said he accepted full responsibility, which is weird because during the Robodebt Royal Commission, there were allegations from those around him that suggested that the minister was, shall we say, slightly reluctant to stop the Robodebt program, and he had vowed to double down on the Robodebt policy after being told it was illegal, which he has denied. So that's how you know it's interesting. Just trying to find a way to do this and not get sued. So yeah, this is the guy who said allegedly that legal advice was just advice, and they didn't need to, in fact, stop the Robodebt Commission. I mean, he's not technically wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong, I guess. Like, you could be legally advised not to murder a guy.
Yeah, a knife is just a knife, but you can still get stabbed with it.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing.
That's not quite the same thing.
No.
I did say and not along, and then
really
realized I am too easily led. I just nodded along. Was like, yeah, Alice, that thing you said, that's
really
true.
Nice. But yeah, I mean,
why do all these politicians who resign in not disgrace of their own accord? I'm not getting tossed overboard. I'm willingly swimming to shore from the middle of the Atlantic. Is, they always retire to spend more time and focus on their family. And I just wonder, who are these poor families that now dad's around constantly? Everyone knows that he's a politician who left on unfavorable terms, and now he's just around. He's picking you up from school. All your mates can see him. Go, is that your dad?
Nothing is worse than when dad has nothing to do, because dad's going to want to do dad stuff with you. And I love my dad.
Let's kick the footy. No, Dad, go away. Stop it.
You want to watch all of Monty Python's Flying Circus?
No, it's Tuesday night. What are you doing, Dad? It's a school night. How do you not have things to do? Get out of here.
I just also think, that they all resigned to be spending time with their families, and they've all resigned in disgrace to go and spend time with their families. And I know it's a big thing in the political landscape. It's always the Albo being our prime minister being a rarity of not being married but just having a partner, etc. It's usually you have to have. It's a good look that you have a family, that that you've got a spouse and kids and all that sort of stuff. But I feel it's almost entirely immoral to be a politician and to have a family. Because I feel so bad for those kids. I don't know what Scott Morrison's kids are like, but that everywhere they go, they're all like, "Oh, well, your dad's Scott Morrison."
They just hear people singing "April Sun" in Cuba at them from a distance.
At them, or did he really shit himself at Engadine Macca's? Did he all this or my dad says that your dad's a cunt. Will just be their lives forever. Like, it just feels cruel.
Which
that
I
you chose to be a
understand.
politician and have children.
I understand that that's not fair for your kids to be dragged into the limelight like that.
It's not fair, but like,
not
especially
fair.
if you're a teenager, other teenagers will bully you for the silliest stuff. Like once I didn't have the right pencil case at school, and that was a bad day.
Oh, you idiot.
Yeah.
Did you not have one of those ones where you could slide letters into those little like?
No, I did. That was the wrong pencil
but there
case.
was never enough spaces really to write what you want.
What did you want to write?
I wanted to write Spider-Man. And it was too many letters, so I was probably something like Spruderman. Or no, probably I was pretty dumb, so I probably wouldn't have realized that I didn't have enough spaces, so it probably said like Spider-Man or something, or like Spider-rum.
A real millennial version would be Spider-Meh.
Meh.
Same number of letters, man.
Man and meh, 3 letters.
It's about the vibe. So. It's not about
this has been unnatural spelling bee.
That's not a millennial thing, the vibe. We don't know what vibes are, George. We do not vibe. We are not vibing.
No cap.
What's
we're vibing.
That?
I got Riz.
What no cap means.
I don't know what you're saying, and that makes me angry.
So Riz, I found out this week stands for charisma. Riz.
Oh, okay.
No cap is like lying. If you're saying no cap, you're not lying. I don't know why cap is lying, but
is it because if you like wearing a hat as a man and you can't tell if you're bald, so you're like, I have hair, but you never know.
I think you're reading into it.
I feel that's a stretch, but I choose to believe that that's why. So
okay,
that's the.
Sorry, George. Continue. Riz cap.
I think we just aged out of being Triple J hosts on this program.
I
think it just happened. That was the moment where we aged out of it. That's never going to happen now. Like, hey,
that's not going to happen for many reasons.
You're listening to Hack. Today we're talking about vaping. I think we aged out of it. No, but we could get a white supremacist on, a la Tom Tilley, and just ask him about his innermost personal thoughts.
What?
So
sure, why not?
Yeah, I just want to know what the white supremacist thinks. Just really platform him. Give him a lot of oxygen.
And speaking of white supremacists, Stuart Robert.
No, we don't know that.
No, we don't know that.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
No, has he done stuff?
I
don't know much about this guy.
I'm assuming the Robodebt scheme. I don't know. Maybe that probably targeted
in terms of the lives. The amount of lives ruined per capita. That's enough. That's all you need to know about Stuart.
I imagine it probably statistically disproportionately affected people of color, maybe more than white people. I'm speculating, but usually welfare program awfulness often does.
That seems
because
legit.
White supremacist bullshit.
But condolences to his family.
Yeah. Old Stewie Robbo's gonna be at home more.
So what it does mean is that there will be another by-election coming up, which is pretty exciting. Ooh. After the recent by-election in Aston, where Labor won pretty handedly. So the seat that he's in is a very safe Liberal seat. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. Fadden.
Well, they said that. They said that last election, all these really safe Liberals.
No, but this is this is Queensland properly safe Liberal seat. So he personally has been the federal MP for Fadden for 16 years. And it went Labor once in the time between now and 1977. So all the other times it's been Liberal. So it's as safe as safe seats are likely to get. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because I don't know. Anthony Albanese's had a bad couple of weeks. He was at Carl Sanderland's wedding.
Oh, that was yucko.
And I don't know what 12D chess his PR team was trying to do there. Like maybe Carl Sanderlands will be nice to him in future and he won't get flogged by him on his program. Like I don't quite know what the calculus there was, but basically everyone was like, oh, cool, the PM's hanging out with drug dealers. Why is that happening?
The drug dealers aside, which is a strange sentence. Don't hang out with Kyle Sanderland. What an awful man.
That was my thought as well.
The searing indictment is that he's hanging out not with drug dealers and John Ibrahim, but with Kyle Sandilands on purpose.
Yeah, I was just like, when people were saying like he's going to attend a wedding, we're on the guest list of these people. I'm like, well, Albo's not fucking responsible for the guest list at a wedding.
Yeah, but
I
you
mean,
choose
sure,
whether to
but
turn
then-
up or not.
Well,
right?
you choose
Like-
whether to turn up or not, but I was just like, no, you're attending Kyle Sandilands' wedding. Like, remember when he fucking like grilled a 14-year-old on radio about like her sexual history? And
I
it's
do
like, oh
remember that.
yeah, so yeah.
Also,
cool.
have you seen the size of his head? I mean, not to make fun of someone's appearance, but it keeps
But
getting
here we go.
bigger.
Yeah.
He's going to devour us all.
How did you describe him the other day? Is
I
that-
saw someone on Twitter, it's not my
Oh,
joke,
okay.
describe him as a human Funko Pop, and he truly is.
I mean, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, so
Kudos to that person.
there's I just it's been weird, and then they've taken a bit of shellacking over the cost of living crisis and this budget, which seems which is coming out this week, which seems like it's going to be tepid. They're like, oh look, we've returned to surplus, and it's like, great.
Who cares?
I don't
Yeah,
actually don't
awesome.
care that we've returned to surplus. Meanwhile,
Throw
Angus
some of that
Taylor.
surplus Tommy's way.
Yeah, there's like a surplus of beans in the cupboard. If I'm hungry, you can't be like, but we got beans. It's like, well, give me some.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Angus Taylor, shadow treasurer and duffel bag of crap, Angus Taylor goes and gets on Insiders this morning and is like, this is a Labor's inflation. They're doing shit with the economy, and it's a Labor's inflation. It's all Labor's fault. And they're like, okay, but look, they're returning to surplus and back in the black. That's all good. And then Angus Taylor was like, that surplus was from all the jobs and the
Oh, the Gobs
that-
and Joe that we did.
that we did. So it's like, hang on.
God, Jared, this is
So-
a good drag. man.
So somehow they are responsible for the inflation, but not the surplus that occurred during the same period of time. It's like,
Yeah.
no. When it comes to the surplus, that was what we did. That was left over from us. When it comes to the inflation, that can't have anything to do with the big stimulus bills that we did when we were office just prior to that. That's all their
No.
fault. It's not
Schrodinger's
Ukraine's
economy.
inflation. It's Labor's inflation. It makes perfect sense. My logic is flawless. Great job. Well done, Angus.
What a prick.
Oh, Angus Taylor.
Anyway, so goodbye, Stuart Robert. You shan't be missed.
Bye, bitch.
Yeah, indeed. So, the writer's strike. Have
Oh,
you been
yes.
following this story, Alice, as a television writer?
I have. It's been quite amazing to see the solidarity across many different departments in America. Long and short of it, writers in America don't get paid very well. They don't have protections in place for things like residuals, and especially with AI coming in, a lot of writers are rightfully very worried that studios are going to try and basically get AI to write their scripts and then be like, come and punch up this AI script for them. So they said, we're not going to work until these demands are met. I think from an Australian writer's perspective, working in TV comedy, the things that they're fighting against happening, I read through them and I'm like, oh, that's just kind of what the industry in Australia is like. My goodness.
Mm.
Yeah,
So-
you were telling me about the a lot of it's been around like
A lot of
timing of pay, like it seems like just like a day rate rather than
Yeah, and rather
and
than
how
a
it worked or
supered and
whatever.
health insurance job. And I'm quite lucky in the shows that I work on are kind of more long-term news comedy programs. So I do have a bit of job security for weeks out of the year. But most writing that you see on narrative comedy is, writers are being paid a day rate, either for a day up to maybe 2 weeks worth of that. And then it's kind of, you're going on from contract to contract, and it's not a very secure landscape. And I hope that writers in America get better conditions and that there is a flow-on effect to other countries with film industries.
So, can you tell me a little bit about residuals, what residuals are and how they work in the American system?
Well, I've never gotten one, George, so I'll give it my best crack.
I'm sure you're aware of them as a concept.
Basic, my very basic understanding is if your work is continued to be aired, or like if it goes kind of beyond the terms of your contract, if you say like, hey, we're going to put Ozark on Netflix for well, maybe Netflix is a bad example, or we're going to screen like this episode of Jimmy Fallon this many times. If they rescreen it, then you're owed some more money, or it's kind of, and again, I might be butchering this. I don't know what residuals are. We don't get them in Australia. Give me money. It's kind of, if your IP is used elsewhere, I imagine that there's additional costs that are paid out to you.
I think about it like royalties for a book.
Yeah.
Mm.
If you wrote a book And
Someone's
so
buying it 10
obviously
years
there's
from now.
maybe so the continued selling of your book still get a cut.
Yeah.
So I think residuals is a pretty similar thing for like actors and writers.
I think the
and
strike though
directors
is
and
going to be
stuff.
quite successful though, Tom, because I saw this morning from a tweet that I half read from a news website. So take this all with a grain of
That was
salt.
100% true.
Perfect. Look, that's the same amount of research that Adam puts into the show. So you're in good company, Alice.
I am Adam. I think that they lost something like 10 million or rather $10 billion in value over the course of the writers' strike this week.
Wow.
Whether it might have been closer to 10 million than 10 billion. That's a big jump in numbers, eh?
Yeah,
but
that's a big swing.
It's an order of magnitude.
The loss of value of writers not being on sets and in rooms is already being felt, and studios are starting to sweat, and they're getting antsy at the moment. Like especially Disney has said to their writers, "Don't strike," and it's like, well, that's not how strikes work, mate. They might strike. So
yeah,
it'd be real weird if you told us to strike.
Yeah.
I mean,
is this inconvenient? Oh, is this a bad time for me to strike? Oh, I could totally strike next week.
Yeah, can totally do it next week. I think we should be all paying attention to the shows or projects that are still going ahead, despite the strikes. So, there are ones because a lot of places have been shutting down to be like, no, they're striking, so we're not going to keep going till this is resolved because we fucking need writers. They are important to the process. Like a lot of people, I think, believe that the writer's written the show or the movie and then they hand it over to you and you start filming it, right? It's like, well, no, their job still continues into that because shit happens and you might need to change stuff or
whole scenes change, especially on major motion pictures,
and on the fly too sometimes. So
yeah, Casablanca literally started shooting before the script was even finished, and they redid it a bunch of times as they were shooting. It's
and sometimes a thing
involved.
can happen. Like I don't know, some examples I saw was like, an actor twisted their ankle, so they need to be sitting down for this scene, and like, oh shit, we got to change any of the dialogue that refers to the fact that they're standing up.
In the news comedy space where I've worked, and I imagine it's the same on. I like to think that I'm just as good as writers for John Oliver, but I imagine
basically the same thing.
Basically the same. But you're writing up until
I think they have a Peabody.
Same. They're writing up until they call action, pretty much, because the news can change at any moment, and you're always learning new information. And then you get the information, you got to write jokes, you got to factor that into the show. It is a movable feast until it is in the can.
Yeah, and then even after taping it as well, like I guess there's the decisions of what to cut, what to keep, how to work around it and frame it. So a writer's job is going through it all the way, right up until airtime, pretty much.
And
the reason I said before we should pay attention to who's still kind of going forward, both in the sense of like, oh, shit thing to do, like, your scabs or whatever, but also, one of the shows, for example, that I've seen is still going ahead with shooting is the second season of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power for Amazon. So boo in that you're still going, but when that season drops, like, pay attention to see how good the dialogue is. Like, I wonder if we'll just see if it's like, wow, this show got real shit suddenly. Like, oh, why did they say a line like that? It might have been shot during this kind of process, right? And, think about heaps of shows, like the last time that there was a writer's strike, which was what I want to guess 2008, 2007-ish? Yeah, kind of around about then. I can't think of examples off the top of my head of like shows where you suddenly realized, the writing's crap, but more like Breaking Bad had a shorter season or something. Like, you saw all this effect of like where shows just took a weird pivot because of this sort of thing happen. Or as many people pointed out, we got Transformers 2. Revenge of the Fallen or whatever.
So pay writers more now.
Quick, immediately.
My God, if you haven't seen Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, it's garbage. And so we don't need more of it.
It's interesting. There's a great GQ article titled "All About the Writer Strike," which we'll post in the show notes, which goes into some detail. But it's sort of talking about that. There's this really weird dynamic which is playing out now, which is like we're sort of at peak TV. There was 599 scripted series in 2022. And there's been this explosion of content across all of these streaming platforms, and they're having to go to real lengths to compete with each other now, whereas Netflix kind of had the early lead in the early days of the streaming wars. But now you got Netflix, you've got Amazon, you've got Disney Plus, you've got Paramount Plus, you've got HBO Max, you've got everyone's got their own streaming service, and those are just the American ones, let alone Stan and iView and all the other Binge that we have here.
iView.
iView, the greatest streaming service in Australia.
We here at Unnatural Selection love iView.
Proud supporters of iView.
Proud supporters of iView.
iView. It's Netflix, but free.
And it has Bluey.
And yes, there you go. And The Weekly, which is a good show, I hear. The all sorts of streaming services which are now competing in this sort of open market, and because of that fact, they're not the sort of standard network shows that you had previously. Like, if you ever go back and watch like The Good Wife or one of these like CBS dramas or whatever. Like,
The Good Wife.
I like The Good Wife. Okay, it's a good show. I watched all 7 seasons, but you'll notice each one of those 7 seasons has like 23 episodes.
Oh.
Like they're, those, or like NCIS or, like all of those shows that go into syndication have like a couple of dozen episodes per season. And then they ran for like 19 years or something. Like it was a legitimate sort of career job that you would go to. You're a salaried employee. You go, you sit down, and you do this job, and then you get residuals, right? So you get that extra money. If you make hundreds of episodes and they're airing on Channel 10 daytime television over in Australia and all around the world, then you're getting all of those residual checks. So writers could then take the time, if they came off one of those jobs or they quit or they were fired or whatever, and they would then have that residual income to help pave the way into the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could write a screenplay or produce a show or and try and pitch a show of your own creation rather than working on someone else's show. And the problem with this situation today is like, because we're so deep into the streaming wars, seasons are much shorter, the landscape is much more fragmented, the residuals for streaming are basically nothing. It's really actually hampering the creative development. Michael Schur, who worked on The Office and then later was the creator of The Good Place and other series which are great, said that it's a real shame because his work on The Office didn't stop when he was a writer, right? He didn't just write in the writer's room and then go home. He was then also a location scout. He then was on set and saw how things were done. And he picked up all these skills, which were then transferable into creating and pitching and doing his own shows. So like, by not giving writers their due, we're actually not only shortchanging ourselves, but we're also shortchanging a whole next generation of creatives that don't get to develop and, sort of build up their portfolio in order to be able to move into that next sphere. And I hate how we trivialize entertainment as well, where they're like, oh, it's just TV, like it's writers, you guys, you're writing on a TV show, you guys are living the dream sort of thing.
What? Yeah, you write like Star Wars
You
TV
write dick jokes,
shows?
whatever.
Oh, geez.
But stories are everything in our society.
But we
what are the rest of us doing when we're not doing our shit-kicking jobs?
All we're doing is watching entertainment. We are entertaining ourselves to death. Everything you watch that we were talking about, like, when Colbert Goes Dark or like, all these sorts of like shows that are going to stop production. You just watch how all of the entertainment that you view on a day-to-day basis just immediately becomes a big steaming pile of shit without writers. Like, just you watch. It's so Jimmy Fallon, Conan O'Brien's going to be back to spinning his wedding ring on a table for 17 minutes because there's no content. Like, everything, all we're doing is entertaining. So why not value the entertainment that these people are providing?
And from my perspective, I know Alice is the industry professional in the room.
Professional is a big word for what I do.
You've been paid for it.
Yeah.
That, like, the writing is really where it starts.
It's. I think about all this stuff with AI and what they want to do, and basically, an AI, it can read a lot of information and it can put out something that looks like a script. It might seem fine, but it cannot generate a new idea. You need human input in every aspect of storytelling because it's not only going to say something new and original, but it's going to say something thematically resonant, which takes it beyond just, Conan O'Brien spinning his wedding ring on a table, which is sick, but you can give it something that relates to the human condition, and then it goes beyond entertainment and connects us to people. Like stories, I'm as a storyteller, I'm so passionate about it, but we live in a world of oral tradition and storytelling, and we need to value that.
But also
I feel like
artificial artificial intelligence is actually like the way it works is taking the uncredited outputs of all the writers. It's not generative, right? It's not creating something that's like quote unquote brand new necessarily. It is taking the output of millions of other writers who are not being paid for that work that they're supplying to feed the intelligence of this machine in order to create something new. It's like on the face of it, it's like it's pretty boldly I don't know. There's a very it's very assumptive to be like, oh yeah, AIs are just going to replace, writers, and that's how, that we'll have a whole new generation of fantastic content, and that's how it's going to be, and there'll be no downsides. It's like, well, you're making a lot of assumptions there to to get to that point. It's based on a lot of other
studio
people's.
executives 2 weeks until they fold.
Yeah, till they fold. 2 weeks.
2 weeks, maybe 3 if they can stand being itchy. But they're already itchy.
What's the over under, Tom? You take over 2 weeks, over 3 weeks? What do you reckon?
See, I feel like,
it's hitting their money.
Yeah, it is hitting their money.
And if there's one thing I know about Hollywood, is you don't fuck with people's money, otherwise you end up with a horse's head in your bed.
Yeah, I think, if people also, if the further solidarity sort of stuff that we're seeing as well, like you're seeing a lot of actors and a lot of like people who aren't writers in the industry, but like joining the writers because they understand their worth. Joining
Pete Davidson bought them pizza.
Yeah, he did. That was real cool. Pete Davidson turned up to one of the picket lines with pizza. I think 2 weeks, you're probably right. I was thinking like, even down to just another week if like more and more people are getting on board and standing up for the writers on top of the writers themselves doing it.
Which is why if you are somehow in the industry in America listening to it, first of all, call us. Me as well. Second of all, but yes,
his phone number is 04.
Hello, show business.
Is this the king of show business?
But yeah, support your writers. Like, be vocal. And kick up a stink because every voice helps. Like, the louder you yell, the more that Johnny show business in his big evil chair will hear you.
Yeah.
Like, not to get all seize the means of production.
Let's do.
Oh, he's busted out the guillotine.
Let me get my guillotine whetstone.
The writers are creating the thing that is valuable. Like Hollywood as an industry is all of it like you said, Tom, it all starts at the idea. It all starts at the writing. Like
even these stuff that isn't fiction. Like the writers play a big role in documentaries, in
everything.
I hate to say reality television, like all that sort of stuff. Like the writers are still a huge part of that. Like it all starts there. This isn't just, you people love your dramas and you wrote a harrowing script about a guy living in a fishing village.
From Sandra Sully reading you the news at night to Breaking Bad, it's all being written by a writer.
Someone took the time. I just think like you are creating the thing that is valuable, and like you need to be paid properly and be able to have a normal middle class living doing that. Like it seems.
I just want to go to the shops and buy lettuce. Like it's truly not extravagant stuff.
Oh, what is that? Iceberg there, young lady?
We're not made.
Someone's rolling in it. It just seems. I'm always like, I've yet to find a situation where I'm like, oh, that union's a bit out of control. Seizing the means of production, protesting. Like it's like obviously corruption in unions is real, but like I can't think of an example where there's been some sort of industrial action. There's a strike going on, and I'm like, man, I'm on the side of the corporation on this one.
Honestly, you can't have corruption in a writers' guild. Do you know why? Because then they'll write about it and try and make money from the story.
A bunch of messy bitches. Everyone's going to know about it. That's true.
Yeah, writers, they're always listening to everything you say because it might be a good bit later.
Yeah. So, is that a thinly veiled criticism of your existence with me?
No comment.
It's very spicy. We're going to do couples counseling right after this. You guys are going to stay on those with that in the one screen with the two microphones, and then join the Zoom meeting with the therapist right after this.
Sorry, I just read it a complete tangent. But did you see that picture recently? That actor Karen Gillan put up.
Oh, yeah.
Karen Gillan, former from Doctor Who, but is also plays Nebula in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One of
Cyber Smurf,
daughter of Thanos. Mm-hmm. She put up a picture being like, I'm glad you guys like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which she's in, that just came out or whatever. But being like, here's a funny photo of the day I forgot that I booked in a session of couples counseling on a shooting day. And it's just like a Zoom thing. Get the therapist her husband and her, but she's in the nebula.
No, that's
Mate.
so funny.
It's funny.
Sick.
But I looked at the picture because I was like, that is funny. And then I went, wait a minute. And I zoomed in closer to see who the husband was.
Yeah.
She's married to Nick Kocher
I don't know
from
who that is.
Britannic.
Oh.
Like, the Academy Award winning trailer guys who are like, those guys, like two of the funniest guys on the internet.
I mean, that's
He's
a really...
married to Karen Gillan.
No one else is gonna. I'm the only person. Your voice is going to that microphone. It's going into my head and other heads, but mine is the only head that registers what you just said just then.
The star of Eagles Are Turning People into Horses
Yeah,
is the husband of Karen Gillan. And
Yeah.
I think great.
That's lovely.
that's very
Good
nice.
for them. I'm glad those two amazing people found each other.
I hope they worked it out.
Yes, I hope the counselling is going well.
So yeah,
anyway.
pay your writers. I think that's Alice.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that sentiment? Pay your writers
Yeah.
as an interested party.
Yes, pay money to us.
Very nice.
In America. Also
you
here.
especially.
It's me especially.
Especially.
Yeah.
My ideas.
This strike is happening in America. I saw someone like some news outlet post a thing being like, the season 14 or whatever of Doctor Who is unaffected by the writer's strike and
Yeah,
going
of
ahead.
course.
And someone's like, well, fuck yeah, it's
Obviously.
being
Writers Guild of
produced and
America.
funded in Wales, you idiots.
But yeah, the Australian Writers Guild, of which I am a proud member, and I need to pay my membership fee again because I constantly forget. We stand with the American writers' strike. So if you're an Australian writer, do not take work in America until the strike is over.
Yeah.
Done. Hey, Alice.
Yep.
Solidarity, bro.
Yeah, done. I'm already blocking the number of the king of show business
Oh,
from
no.
New York. Lorne who?
This moon vest, that can't be a real person.
Speaking of real people who just surely you can't believe they're real people.
They're not
but
lizards.
They are.
You wouldn't know from their faces.
Yeah, definitely not lizard people. The royal family.
Mhm.
You
You might have noticed that old sausage fingers finally got coronated.
Yeah,
Sleep with his hands.
King Charlie Boy got coronated. Yes, I said it. People say it's not a word. I'm making it a word.
This is Unnatural Selection After Dark.
Yeah.
Let's watch Phil.
Yeah, he got crowned.
No, I'm gonna keep that joke to myself. Actually,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, he got crowned. It happened. He finally got to wear the big hat, hold the two sticks while dressed like a bloody Black Forest.
They
with
just
all the
kept
muffin.
throwing shit on him. He had so many layers
It
on
looked like he was going skiing with the two scepters.
Yeah, and it's just amazing. It was all just this big ridiculous showcase. Like, I know there's historical relevance to the royal family and stuff like that.
They had some
isn't it?
splinters from the cross of Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
Ooh. See, I reckon if
couple of
everyone who said they had splinters from the cross actually had splinters from the cross, you could build like
You could build a
just
new cross.
Yeah, you could build like the fucking Noah's Ark. Like it's just
wood-
so much wood.
Wood from 2,000 years ago, famously durable, and
so
would definitely last. But yeah, the Pope brought it over himself, apparently.
Was it in his finest
in his
Balenciaga?
Balenciaga?
Yeah, so that happened, and just the pageantry of it.
It took so long for him to walk from one end to the other, and then Camilla had two other identical Camillas either side of
Oh,
him.
yeah, right. Like,
one wear, one wash.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And I swear, I think I said this last night. It's like, yeah, you have the two identical Camillas because if she then suddenly does a runner, you can just chuck chuck another cape on one of them and then keep going.
That's how it works. Everyone takes one step over.
I expected it to be full of pompous pageantry, but even I was surprised at some of the stuff. Like, you know, we've been hearing word of it all week and like for weeks and weeks and weeks of the different like ceremonial things, but like that he was dressed like a fucking muffin and like, you know, he had that like white puffy icing cloak kind of thing going on, and that he sits on a chair that is over the top of the stone of destiny, which is
a literal stone.
Brick. It's just this big brick that a bunch of Scottish kids nicked
and
once,
they had to put
which
a
is
glove
funny
on him,
story.
like, I don't know, the glove of infidelity or fidelity or what have you.
Yeah, like the glove of something just called the orb. he held the orb, whatever that is, and then the two
It's actually a
skiing
Ferrero
rods.
Rocher.
Right.
It's actually a Kinder Surprise. You break it, it's milk chocolate.
And then some Tory MP is like walking down with this big fuck off like Hidetaka Miyazaki sword that like probably has some kind of insane dex and insight stats.
In a cost of living crisis, to have two people in their late 70s or whatever age they are riding down the street in a gilded chariot.
Oh, yep.
Ridiculous.
And then also his son and his wife also, I think, in their own gilded chariot that we built.
Yeah,
Us Aussies built that one back in the
Nice.
80s for the
yeah.
for bicentennial or something.
Who says we don't do manufacturing here in Australia?
Yeah, right. But we only do it for people overseas.
Yeah, for single-use products.
Yeah, and
But it's just such useless wank.
such useless.
100
work.
million pounds of useless wank. Now, I know the pound is not what it used to be, but certainly I feel as though 100 million pounds should get you a little bit more than plopping a crown on a inbred septuagenarian.
Well, the
Like,
crown is one thing.
When
'cause
there's
it
a cost of living crisis, it just doesn't
Yeah.
feel like the best use of 100 billion pounds. Like,
I know that the argument that they often use with like why the crown is there, it's like to give people hope and like, but the image
Hope for
of
what?
being King Charles sitting on the throne looking like he's having the worst day of his life
Did not look happy.
fill him-
Yeah.
really did not look happy. That's why I put the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme over a picture of Camilla last night, because she just had this look on her face, like, you know, she was in the chariot or whatever, and looking out the carriage and looking out the window like she'd just been speaking to Charles, and then turned to look out the window and just had this look of like, oh God, what have I done? So this is the perfect music for this.
I don't want to claim credit for this joke. So it's at Die Workwear on Twitter says, and it's a picture of King Charles being at his coronation ceremony. Says, me wearing my expensive online purchases only to realize the horrifying void is still in me.
Yeah, it's very much that.
It's
He's
just
been
like,
probably
oh,
waiting
man.
for this his entire life, and then
This-
he's like, happened, and I'm still
Yeah,
sad.
We're doing another one of these ever again? Because I honestly think we're done.
Well,
I think we're
yeah,
out.
like by the
Yeah.
time he's cocked it, and we've got another king to crown.
I think everyone
maybe.
watching it went, this is a bit silly.
This is a bit silly. Like, and speaking of silly, can we please talk about the Velvet Schlong?
Oh, yes.
Oh my
I-
God.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, explain it.
The royal dick. He was presented. Charles was presented with a ring. It's probably like, I don't know, fucking the Ring of Power or
Yeah,
whatever
England
they call it.
asked
the-
him to marry him.
Yeah, the fucking the ring of shamrock or whatever.
Good
But it was
nailed it.
presented on this, like, rather than just a cushion that you've put a ring on, it was this cushion that also had like a 45-degree angle.
It was an erect cushion.
Yeah, it was an erect cushion. It just had this like this little knob coming out the top, but that was quite girthy. And the reason
Well,
it was
'cause
quite
his
girthy was 'cause
hands.
it's Prince Charles, King Charles' hands. And the photo I've seen is not only this like this giant velour cock with a ring on it,
Okay.
just sort of sitting there, but Charles is reaching out with like his hand that has a tiny normal sized pinky, like a bit of a like a weird ring finger, and then a middle finger that like is the size of probably my whole hand, just like stroking the tip of this like fucking like soft phallus.
But you know when you're a kid and you get a latex glove and
Yeah.
you fill it with water and you put it in
yeah.
the freezer so you
Yep.
can chuck it off the balcony.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what his hands look like.
Oh my god,
Mm.
yeah, it looks like like his hands are just full of pudding, like just reaching out, and it's just that he's got this middle finger, and he's just like touching like the what is it, the like the frenulum or whatever of the just
His hands
the
full of
tip.
pudding.
Yeah, his hands do look like they're full of pudding.
We don't use the words like frenulum on the show, Tom. It's a family show. So
Oh, okay, so family show. All right, the make it go spurt button.
not better.
Tom.
Not better.
And it's just this absolutely crook thing.
You gotta feel for those little kids though, because looking at what's the one that's gonna George is the one that's
the
in the
grandson.
line.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was just looking around at all of it, being like, "Oh no, not for me, thanks."
Guys, this is pretty wild. Hey,
This is
gonna
pretty
go,
bizarre.
gonna go get back on the e-durries when I Get out of view of the cameras.
Great picture of him just like whispering to his sister who's sitting next to him and pointing up at something, and people have just been memeing what's he pointing at, like him being like, that guy over there, he can't sweat.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Talking about Prince Andrew. Amazing.
Prince Andrew, who was in attendance.
Great. Good.
Yep.
That's so good that
Good that he's there.
The dollars of taxpayers contributed to having a pedophile walk down an aisle.
Alleged pedophile.
Except he did it in a big
allegedly.
I haven't seen how anyone's blaming Meghan Markle for anything yet, but she wasn't there, so I bet they will blame her.
The best theory I saw...
I've already seen that, was that she was dressed... They were saying that she was dressed up as someone else and she snuck in. These are the terminally online people who are just like these conspiracy theorists. They're like, no, she dressed up. Look at this guy. He's got a weird mustache. This doesn't look like a real person. It's someone disguised. And they're like... Bro, that's like a...
Well, that did look like a person in disguise.
It did, but he's a real person. He's a composer. He's a real person.
He's a white man. The reason that the British media hates Meghan Markle so much is she's a black woman. It is not that person in disguise.
Yeah. Very easy to tell that it's not Meghan Markle.
Leave that poor woman alone.
I very much doubt she's got the makeup artists from White Chicks to come over from America and do her up in the style of an old, Nordic composer in order to sneak into a coronation that she doesn't want to be at in the first place because none of the family treats her with any respect.
And not to yuck anyone else's yum, but who are these freaks lining the streets in the rain with a
weirdos
umbrella to see the king?
Oh, just to see the king. Remember when Adam did that when the Queen came?
Oh, it's Adam. That's why
it's Adam.
He's coming back from the UK.
Yeah, he's coming back from the UK.
I like it, like you say, I don't want to yuck anyone else's yum, but when oh God, I just revile that. Absolutely, hate that sentence.
We made him say it.
Yeah, that was all you, baby.
But when the Queen died and people lined up in the queue to go see the body and stuff, I just don't.
I could see it on TV.
I mean, great if this is how you want to spend your time. I just really don't. I'm an ardent atheist and an ardent Republican. And I'm a materialist. I believe that things that exist in the real world and things should be democracy and fair. And so none of this monarchy stuff makes any sense to me. It's a perversion of well, quite honestly, it's the opposite of everything I believe. It's just religious
placed importance on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It serves no function.
Yeah.
I think we're done. Sorry, which one's the next one? William.
I
don't think you're getting one of these.
Yeah, William's not getting a season of The Crown. You don't think?
No. I think he can get a comfortable job at Deloitte or something. He'll get a good salary. But
he'd look great in a puffer vest.
Yeah.
I see him. Absolutely crushing it at Clayton Utes or maybe Accenture or something.
All right, but now I think the big question that we all are wondering:
did Katy Perry sing Bon Appetit?
Did she? I wasn't wondering that, but now I am. No, I was more wondering: is your coronation night like your wedding night?
You talked about this morning.
Really, what I think is
he was running it past you. Classic writer style. You're never having a real conversation with him. He's always just prepping material.
Yeah. What I'm asking,
what's the deal?
You reckon they fucked afterwards? What do you think just got crowned King of England sex is like?
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, mainly because it's covered in gold and jewelry. But I don't. I never want to think about that ever again. I don't want to think.
I've had plenty of years to root, namely while they were both married to different people.
Other people. Is it bad that when you said heavy is the head that wears the crown, my brain went somewhere very different?
Okay, all right. Are you still? I'm just imagining my wife's disappointed eyes. She just looks to me and goes, "Are you still making dick jokes?"
Dick facts, rather.
Yeah, dick facts.
Yeah, so it's good to end on a nice joke. I just, the whole idea of that someone's appointed by God, and there's a feudal system where we're all basically a bunch of just serfs, sort of paying homage to landed gentry. It's just this is the opposite of everything I think and feel. Not a fan of any of
the royal family that is it's a god anointed right, or we are the chosen.
The Pope came.
Yeah, like all that sort of stuff.
with splinters that he has on very good authority. Came from the he paid so much money for them, and if they're not real Jesus splinters, what have I just spent all this money on?
Yeah, but just like that idea, I always find bananas because there's a thing of like, oh, well, you're the rulers of the country. Like, rulers are often established by war, and you won. Great, you are the descendants of whatever, and you're crowning each other all further down. That makes sense. But when like, that little boy came out and was all like, God chose you to be the king person, and we're God's children, and all that sort of stuff. It's like, wow, this is actually some culty shit.
The whole thing of people were encouraged to out loud give pledge allegiance. Yeah.
If anyone did that in front of me, like I am almost 30, but they would get dacked. Like you can't do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't make a wedgie high enough. Yeah. I think for pledging allegiance to the king.
I mean, to say that the monarchy is an anachronism, I mean it was in Plato's Republic 2,500 years ago, but I guess we're still doing it. So best
Katy
of luck.
Perry, great though. That was a great outfit. Well done, Katy Perry.
Yeah, beautiful.
Very good. All comes back to the fashion. Time is a flat circle. And Anthony Albanese was there as well, so it's good. He's just winning left and right.
And they could also all be guillotined.
Yeah, I think they've all got really. Yeah, you have a real sore neck after you wear that crown.
On that note,
you could use that massager. The massager. But yeah, Albo was there. Albo was there as our representative. Just popped up to England, had a cheeky chat with Piers Morgan, and then went to the coronation.
Good.
But, just decided to have a. How did you put it in your recent comedy festival show, Alice? To have an old "what is one" chat with renowned shitbag. Piers Morgan.
Transphobe and duffel bag of shit, Piers Morgan. Yeah.
Not to get too derailed over it, but who the fuck was that for, Albo?
I don't know. So basically Piers Morgan asked him, what is a woman?
But he just had an interview with him. And he said, why?
A human female.
Always, which is kind of now getting more and more layered in subtext. That's like, oh dear, that's maybe not
female.
A good answer, Albo.
But
much like the Carl Sanderland's wedding. What are you doing, mate?
What you doing, buddy?
Why are you hanging out with these shitbags?
Yeah, I don't get it. It's been a loser week for the Albanese government, I think. Let's see if it turns around with the budget.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if the MBAs get their spreadsheets out, and we'll...
It'd be really nice to see the Prime Minister be listed as a loser of the budget. There's winners and losers.
Oh, there's always winners and losers.
Like, ding, 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 loser. The Prime Minister.
Winner of the budget. Great job, Angus Taylor. Well done.
Yeah. Winner of the budget. Guillotine manufacturers.
Okay, on that note, we have definitely been. This is why we need Adam, because this show's gone 90 minutes. This is a feature-length film. Who needs writers? On that note, we have been, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that have, do, or ever will exist at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and the most delightful TikTok. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at George Tsibos.
You can follow me on Twitter at Tom D. Heath.
You can come and see me in Sydney at the Sydney Comedy Festival on the 17th and the 19th of May. And you can go to alicetovey.com for other stuff and all of my socials.
What's your Twitter?
It's Alice Tovey, and you can find me on Instagram at Altove and TikTok. I post a TikTok every now and then.
Very nice.
You're with it.
Yeah, I get it.
You're with what the kids are up to.
I basically rely on Alice to tell me what the kids are up to. As the only member of our friendship group under 30, I'm really looking for some insights. So lots of Riz. Thanks for listening, guys. I love your faces. We'll see you next week.
Seriously, George, you've just been herding cats all episode, herding little communist cats.
Yep.
Just want to chop you off some heads.
Little socialist cats over here. Viva la revolution!